Thanks for tuning into Steinway Indonesia channel. It's me, Irene, and I'm here with the one and only amazing pianist, George Harliono.
Well,
Thanks for doing this short interview with us.
thank you for having me today.
Really looking forward to your performance later, also with Anggun.
Yeah, I'm excited to be playing for this OCBC event. It's very fun for me to be back here in Jakarta. And I'm looking
You're here in June too, right?
I was here in June. I was
Yeah.
giving
Concerto and
three
recital.
rack 2, which was very fun. It was my first proper performance
Really?
in Indonesia. It was a wonderful experience, and I'm very excited for this performance tonight and also my performance next week here in Jakarta.
Yeah. So looking forward to more of your performances more often in Indonesia. So could you share with us one of your practicing routines?
Well, as a pianist, it's important to try to have a practice routine, though I'm not going to say I'm very successful. I aim to practice. I try and practice like 8 hours if I can, when I'm at home, when I'm not performing, when I'm not traveling. 8 hours is what I aim to do. It never happens. It's
a good aim.
very. I mean, if we shoot for the moon, if we'll end up among the stars. So if I try my best, I will get somewhere. Yeah.
Maybe 6 hours.
Yeah, on a good day.
That's great. That's a lot.
Yeah, but it's important to try and well, at the moment, like for example, when I'm at home, when I'm practicing, I'm trying to learn new repertoire, trying to learn new pieces that I have to play in my programs later. But then if I'm traveling, then it's a different sort of practice. I'm trying to maintain the standard of my repertoire for the performances. So it's different sorts of practice when I'm traveling and when I'm at home.
At home, yeah. Speaking of new pieces, what do you do for new pieces? Like extremely new.
It varies a lot depending on the composer, but I mean, it's very over. Sort of everyone says it, but slow practice is really important. Trying to break apart the piece hands separately, trying to understand and trying to create my own understanding of the piece and how it fits together and how I think what I think the composer's intention is. What I think that's what I do when I'm trying to learn a new piece. And then of course, working with my teacher is very important. And even now, I try to play to my teacher as much as possible because I think it's important to play to other people when you're in that learning stage, because they can shift your perspective on certain things in pieces. They can really give you a different point of view. And I think that's really important when learning new repertoire.
Yeah. So you've won some really top-notch, top-tier international piano competitions, and there's a lot of young pianists that listen to our channel. Do you have advice for them who are preparing for competitions?
I think competitions are a difficult thing in music because music is subjective, and the definition of competition is to determine who is better than who. So essentially, a music competition is contradictory, but I think that
it's always been there.
Well, yeah, I think it's important to go into a competition, especially when I was in Tchaikovsky, trying to go in with a mindset of I'm there to create music, I'm there to play for the audience, to share music that I love, and to show that I love this music to in competition, it's very easy to get hung up on technical details. I mean, of course, I have to practice. There's a lot of notes. And I'm playing like 3 hours of repertoire, and two like romantic concertos in one go without a break is very technically demanding. But it's what the jury are looking for, what the audience are looking for, is someone who goes beyond that, someone who believes in what they're doing, someone who has something authentic to say, something unique, not for the sake of being unique. I think this is really important because everyone wants to listen to something interesting, but when it's not authentic, when it's not honest, I think juries and audiences can tell. So yeah, that's.
It's
I
a
just
tip
said a
from
load
you.
of things. It sounds very
Good stuff, good
daunting and
stuff.
overwhelming. But I think the main thing I was thinking about was enjoying myself on stage. I was reading some critics, and someone wrote from my first round. Um, they said something like, perhaps George doesn't know that the Russians don't play the middle section of Tchaikovsky Nocturne this fast. Or perhaps he doesn't know that we don't add an extra note at the end of Chopin's Etudes at the top. Or perhaps it's just that he doesn't care. But
even more ouch.
no, it was a really nice review, but because he went on to say that it doesn't matter because he was the most musically interesting.
Oh, okay.
That was because that was my goal. I don't care about, like, when I played Petrushka, I played Petrushka not for the piano score. I don't care about the piano score because if I'm playing Petrushka, the most important thing is the orchestral score. It's orchestral music, and when you have a pianist that plays Petrushka and only knows the piano score, it's really obvious.
Yeah.
Because essentially when you're playing a piece like Petrushka, like Pictures and Exhibition, you have an impossible task, which is to create the sound of an orchestra with one percussion instrument. It's not possible. All we can do is try our best, and you can tell when a pianist is trying to create these orchestral sounds and when they're simply playing the piano. And I think in competitions they're looking for not the best pianist. I think there's a sort of basic level that is achieved by everyone in a competition like Tchaikovsky, like Chopin. They're looking for the best musician, and I think sometimes people forget that. I think sometimes even juries forget that, and sometimes you get pianists that win competitions who are excellent pianists, but then they don't go on to have great careers because they're perhaps not musically as interesting. Whereas some people who do well in competitions but don't get the first prize because maybe they're not as pianistically good are much better musicians. And I think the better musicians are the ones who remain in people's memories rather than the better pianists. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I try my best.
Well, that's your take. All right, so talking about bringing out orchestral sounds from pianos. Would you share some of your experience with Steinway piano and the sound of the Steinway?
I think the sound of the Steinway is the most recognized piano sound. I'm a big fan of. Well, I've grown up with Steinway. I think most young pianists such as myself have grown up playing Steinway in concerts, in competitions. It's the main piano of choice for most, especially in Europe. And to be on stage with a Steinway, I always feel very free because it's an instrument I'm so familiar with, I'm so familiar with the sound, the colors that I can have a Steinway at home. I have a Steinway B.
Nice.
So I always feel very comfortable on stage.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this short interview.